Hello, 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 ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are live tonight, Tuesday, September 9th. It is September, right? It's just everything blends together when school's in session. Sorry for the 30-minute delay tonight. As I mentioned on the forums, had a parent-teacher conference tonight, just kind of meet the teachers in the classrooms and such. So we had to take both our kids because first grade and third grade, they're both had it the same night. So a little bit of a delay. But no worries, we are still on time and on subject with this week's Timeshare Recap Tuesday, covering the best and most interesting topics of weeks 36, 2025. Hi, Claire. Thanks for tuning in. Looks like we got a few people online. Fantastic. Sorry for those of you who were confused. Thought it was going to be at 9 o'clock. I did push it back to 9:30. I was here at 9, but I'd already changed it to 9:30 and didn't want to go back and make things more difficult for anyone. But anyway, hey, fantastic. All sorts of people chiming in right now. I'm glad everyone saw the update and they were able to chime in at 9:30, and we can go ahead and get started with Timeshare Recap Tuesday. So, got a great show for you tonight. We're going to cover the four most interesting topics from the newsletter this past week, starting with an interview that I did many moons ago with an Orlando WFTV 9. We had a great relationship with this particular investigative department in the studio in Orlando. The previous head person on that, Jeff Ulrich, I think was his name, I guess is retired, and his protege or replacement reached out to do this story, and I was happy to meet with him. They actually drove up from Orlando to do the story, and it just kind of got delayed for a bit, and they wound up going a little bit different direction for the story that they were covering, but the interview still applied, just for the fact that we were talking about timeshare exit scams and so on and so forth. So I was very happy that this finally saw the air as part Jeff Deal did this, and I thought it was a great story. Did mention some really awful things. Hey, Billy, and hey, Jim, thanks for tuning in. Awesome, got so many people online. Thank you very much for tuning in, and we're already in the midst of talking about topic one, which is near and dear to all of our homes, is talking about timeshare exit scams. And in this particular story, it was truly special, just for the fact that this couple had been Westgate owners for many years, had been happy Westgate owners for many years, and I'm sure many of you hearing just the word Westgate involved in this is not terribly surprising to anyone when they reached out to Westgate at the time and were given no real options. They even mentioned the article that they did try to reach out to sell or give back their timeshare, and were told at that time that hey, whoever they spoke to just didn't give them any options to get out of their timeshare, even though Westgate does have a surrender program. It does cost money. But for whatever reason, when they reached out to Westgate, which is all too common, owner was given absolutely terrible advice and told that basically they either need to sell it themselves or reach out to someone to have them sell it for them. And unfortunately, in this situation, they took the easy way out as far as they were concerned, because I'm sure as soon as they got off the phone with Westgate, where they were told that, hey, sorry, we don't have any options for you. You're going to need to do this yourself. I'm sure they went into Google and typed in, get me out of my Westgate timeshare, or cancel my Westgate timeshare, or any of a million search terms that had them land on a timeshare exit company. Did not mention, this particular one, TS Relief Group, is one that's been mentioned repeatedly on the forums. Very common theme is telling the owner that, hey, get you out of your timeshare guaranteed, no problem. We money back guarantee, cancel these timeshares all the time, nothing you need to worry about. We'll take care of it here. Just struck us a check for, I think it was $11,000, something that if I looked at the story, that they wound up paying this exit company to quote unquote get them out of their Westgate timeshare, and accomplished absolutely nothing. For those of you that don't know, Westgate is extremely has extreme disdain for exit companies, even though not exactly the pillar of customer service themselves. But Westgate is very punitive for people that do engage exit companies. For better, for worse, they definitely take a hardline stand at anyone who does engage an exit company, and will absolutely provide no help whatsoever, even though they didn't really provide any help to start with. But will actively, take a stand again against your trying to exit your timeshare if they've discovered or you've informed them that you've hired an exit company. Many organizations, many developers have taken that stand as well. In which, again, you want to take a better stand. Why don't you just give them options to take it back? But the fact of the matter remains is once you do engage an exit company, it's very common for your situation to actually get worse, in which the timeshare will just kind of, hey, you hired an exit company. We don't deal with those. Enjoy. which doesn't make the owner's situation any worse because they've already stopped paying to begin with. But in this case, you're just getting bad information on both sides. Unfortunately, the bad information that was given by the timeshare exit scam cost this couple another $11,000. And as we know, the main solution provided by timeshare exit and cancellation companies is to just stop paying. So when this couple decided to stop paying for their timeshare and engage this exit company, in which I'm sure Westgate was very made aware that they were stopping paying for their timeshare as they had been instructed by TS Holdings Group. This happens. It's nothing unique to them. They were basically stuck in limbo. Westgate is not going to reach out and offer them a solution to get out of their timeshare, either deed in lieu of foreclosure or wait to turn you over to collections and eventually try to take it back through, a foreclosure or, reaching out to try and negotiate a settlement to give it back. But once you've engaged an exit company, it's very, very clear that Westgate just cuts off all communication. Their hardline stance is pay what you owe. Sorry. Have a nice day. Here we'll turn you over to collections and these fees will start racking up. As it stands now, thankfully, this Action 9 chimed in, took this individual, met with them, tried to contact Westgate to tell them about their story, inform them that, hey, Westgate tried to reach out earlier, and then we're on top of that scammed by an exit company trying to get out. It seems that Westgate did eventually say, hey, oh, by the way, we have an exit program for $1,750 or whatever it happened to mention. They allowed this couple to give it back. So just for the timeline to recap, a couple reaches out to Westgate, asked for help to get out of their timeshare that was paid off, was told there was no options for them available or no good options for them available and that they would be left to their own devices. Couple finds random timeshare exit scammer and pays them $11,000 for help to get out of their Westgate timeshare, which was also unsuccessful. Couple reaches out to WFTV9 Investigative Journalism, who reached out to them, got an interview, got all the information, and reported this on the news. Also reported it to Westgate, and then Westgate finally capitulates and offers them something that they have been offering all of their owners for, going on 8-9 years now? Was it 2018, 2019 when the Westgate the legacy program was originally offered? I don't know why this couple wasn't offered that to begin with. It is a shame that this couple was somehow not given that information and then lost $11,000 more to a scam, and then was offered something that should have been offered to them in the first place. But that just highlights how poor this industry does its own job in providing a viable exit option for owners in this situation. They're elderly, they don't travel anymore, they've been happy owners for years, it's been paid off. Someone in this situation should not be fed to the exit company sharks. It just shouldn't happen. But this industry, for whatever reason, just continues to facilitate chumming the waters and just feeding up victims to these timeshare exit companies hand over fist because they don't provide good exit options or feasible exit options to the owners themselves. And when they don't see any good exit option, when they reach out to their resort, they're going to go on the internet and find the people giving them the best sales pitch, the same thing that they sold the timeshare in the first place. I can guarantee I can get you out of your timeshare. No problem. We've canceled tens of millions of contracts. We cancel Westgate contracts every day. Guaranteed, money back guarantee. We can do it. No problem. Pay us this money. You'll be done with your timeshare. Guaranteed. That is a very, very successful sales pitch that has been going on for years. And it has worked successfully to do so many countless thousands of owners out of countless millions of dollars across the board. So I absolutely have a disdain for timeshare exit companies that have to lie to owners to fleece them for money. I have an even bigger disdain for timeshare developers that just don't provide valid exit options, or at least the truth to owners. Tell them their situation. Let them make the decision themselves. But for you to just tell them, sorry, we don't have anything. Have a nice day. Thanks for being a happy Westgate owner. It's no surprise whatsoever. And I don't want to just bag on Westgate, even though they deserve this and earned every bit of it, because there are other companies looking at you, Explorer, looking at you, Diamond Resorts, that offer same really, really shitty advice when their owners reach out to try and get help to get out of a timeshare situation that they've clearly reached the end of their timeshare lifetime and are just looking for some sort of assistance, some sort of way out that doesn't involve ruining their credit and stopping payment. And unfortunately, instead of telling them the truth, they are given constantly worse and worse bad advice that is guaranteed to end up costing these companies, these owners, just hundreds, if not thousands of dollars, and not put them in any better situation than they are when they originally reached out. So kudos to Action 9. Thank you very much, Jeff, for reaching out and doing this interview with me. I know that bits and pieces of my interview are used in a variety of other articles and of other stories that have come out. So I'm very, very happy to see any mainstream media article that promotes, how terrible an idea it is to do timeshare exit scams. So I'll continue to offer my services in my face, the Timeshare Beard, my voice, my platform. So please reach out, click on the link in the newsletter, reach out, give a nice big comment, say super, super thanks to Jeff Deal for doing this story, and I hope he'll continue to do it. Timeshare, he lives in Orlando, works in Orlando, obviously a big deal, timeshare capital of the world being in Orlando. So hope to see more of these stories, and I'm always happy to promote anything he does that relates to this, as well as volunteer my time to help him out doing it. So hey Jeremy, thanks for tuning in. I appreciate it. Got so many people online. Thank you so much for tuning in. This is one of the more popular episodes. This is fantastic. Learned a whole new timeshare scam today, not timeshare related, called half off your rent bill flights. Wonder if someone's probably absolutely. I've seen it. I got one the other day. Dang it, I meant to put it on my desk, and I'm not going to get up and go get it. But I got another flyer in the mail offering a free dinner at a random hotel. It's across town. I never get to go to these because I personally can't lie. When they ask me, they require your spouse to go, and I'm not gonna. I would love to go, and I would love to sit there, even if I'm not going to speak up and point out their bullshit. But I'm not willing to do what they do to mislead and get myself into the presentation. So one of these days I'm gonna call them up and they're gonna let me go without my wife, or not ask me if I'm married, and that way I can do it that way. But it always seems that the company that you call that is doing the screening to set up these presentations and take your reservation always asks if you're married and your wife has to go, and so on and so forth. So but no, absolutely said the same thing. How to discount your maintenance fees, or how to eliminate your maintenance fees completely. We're seeing that extremely common. I see that the half off or similar stuff like that in timeshare sales pitches that people are reported. They go to a salesman and, hey, if you buy this number of points, you can pay. What was the common term? I don't know if it was Wyndham or Diamond. One of the ones had you could pay your maintenance fees with your points, or something to that effect. That when you step back and look at it from a logical standpoint, it's absolutely ludicrous, but it sounded great the way they pitched it. That, hey, if you buy 10,000 more points, you can just pay your maintenance fees. If you don't use 10,000 points, you pay your maintenance fees with it. Again, why don't you just not charge me my maintenance fees if I don't use my points? But we all know that if it's coming out of a salesman's lips, chances are it's complete fabrication at worst, and just a very, very significant stretching of the truth at best. So never trust people that say that. But yeah, the quotes and the marketing that are just on the edge of being a lie, just has that little shred of truth that can be used later on to say, well, maybe you just misheard me or misunderstand what I said, or didn't quite understand what I was explaining at the time. I certainly wouldn't have said, quote unquote, this is an investment, or this is going to increase in value, or you could sell it back to me for more than you paid for it, or all the normal lines that are pitched in sales presentations. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It's the scams that in this industry, and it sounds like in the vacation industry around, there's not a whole lot of money to be made in telling people the truth. The money that people are making hand over fist is in deliberately misleading customers into thinking that they are getting the best deal, the absolute, fear of missing out, FOMO. If you don't sign this right now, you don't buy this right now, you're a fool and you're missing out, and you're never going to get this opportunity again. This is just, think of how many people, I'm wasting my time with you, and I could be giving this to so many other people. Why are you not taking this? And then that is just the timeshare industry in a nutshell. Every ad, every phone call, and every email is just some kind of scam. Absolutely. For me, I try to use the spam blocker on my phone. I must get, I don't actually get the calls anymore because it doesn't ring, but I get the voicemail alerts because they will leave voicemails, even if it's like a 4-second blank voicemail. So I have to go in every day and delete 10 or 15 voicemails from companies or telemarketers that have been blocked due to spam. It's insane. I think someone said that at one point, like 80 to 90% of all the email on the planet right now is spam or junk mail. It wouldn't surprise me if phone calls are getting to that point, either telemarketer or robocall or spam or scam. It's crazy that how prevalent it is in society today. But that tells you one thing: is it's effective. Because if it wasn't, you weren't able to make money off of it, it would dry up overnight. People wouldn't do it. Anywho, moving on to the next story in our thing. Spinnaker French Quarter owners. French Quarter, brand important. This is, even though it says French Quarter, even I originally, when I read it the first time, thought it was New Orleans, but this is a resort called French Quarter Branson, owned by Spinnaker. It looks like this resort is next on the closing list. They reached out to their owners. Somebody posted a note on Facebook, and then later on, someone actually posted the complete information from the HOA. I want to say, first off, kudos to this Resort Homeowners Association for sending out this document. I hope they're doing it through email and regular mail to actually give their owners what's going on right now and the update that they need to make a good decision. Keeping owners informed, even if it's a really, really bad message you have to send, is way better than what Wyndham's doing right now. And the homeowner associations there and not being proactive in giving the owners the facts, the truth about the situation, and the options they're going to see. Spinnaker has absolutely crushed it in this. They have clearly engaged a company called Lemon Juice, which is very, very common in the industry, to go in and try to save, not so much save, maybe that's better, go in and provide assistance to a failing resort, a resort that is gone underwater and there's no real hope of bringing the financials out of the red there. And so they give them options to financially the best of a bunch of poor options. This resort in question, it looks like it's going to close down. Looks like the resort will be sold off, or at least the majority of it will be sold off to whatever they happen to turn it into, but another entity will come in and purchase that. I do like the fact that the Spinnaker board has been completely forthcoming in that and giving owners the options. Option one was to transfer your ownership to another Spinnaker resort. Palace View was one they were operating. You can do that completely free. If you wanted to remain in the Spinnaker system, to transfer your ownership on a 1-to-1 scale. I guess if you had a 1-bedroom, you go to 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom, 2-bedroom. You could upgrade to a different resort. It would actually cost you money if you wanted to upgrade. It looks like you can go to Palace View Heights. I'm not sure. I've not been to either of those resorts, so I couldn't tell you why Palace View Heights is considered an upgrade to Palace View, but maybe it's just a nicer, newer phase. And I don't know what the cost involved that is. Exit your vacation ownership. They let people give back for free. Absolutely fantastic. Kudos for that. And the option was you can stay as an owner. If you truly want to ride this out and then see what happens, or you want your cut of the sale when it appears that this resort is going to be sold, and if you maintain your ownership, you would certainly be entitled to that cut. You have that option as well. What I didn't like about this situation is a really, really tight deadline. They were telling these people, if we don't hear from you by October 27, 2025, which is just over a month away. I don't know what the date on this was, but they're just assuming you want to keep your ownership. That's to create something out like this and send it via regular mail, which they're probably required to do, to reach out to each and every owner at the address, and then expecting the owner to read it, research it, and then give a response within less than 60 days. That's pretty tight, especially the way the U.S. mail has been running recently. Chances are some of these people won't receive this for weeks. So kudos to, again, being forthcoming, being completely transparent, giving the owners the options that they have, even though some of them might not be very appealing to owners. Certainly, there are plenty of owners that are not going to be happy with the overall decision, but it was pretty much summed up in the second paragraph. After comprehensive evaluation, it's clear that the French Quarter property would require significant updates. Significant updates to, and I don't know how I managed to do that, screw that up, but let me see if I can get out of here. Try significant updates to meet the high standards our owners have come to expect and deserve. Bringing the resort up to today's expectations and comfort and quality would involve renovations estimated in millions of dollars. With a limited number of active owners, pursuing these upgrades through special assessments is simply not feasible. In layman's terms, very few people, they've reached a point where the currently paying owners is a smaller and smaller amount that the resort can afford to maintain operations. The fact that they're looking at millions and millions of dollars in estimates to try and restore that sort or bring it up to standards is not something that they could realistically assess, and it's certainly not something they can cover in the budget. As such, they chose the lesser of two evils in engaging a company that specializes in this, and it sounds like that Lemon Juice is going to handle all this for them, obviously for a cut of the sale, and this resort will be closed down and used in some other capacity. Jim Reagan spoke to the resort manager, Turtle Cay in Virginia Beach, owned by Hilton, which has been closed for almost 2 years. Owner's supposed to get an updated letter this month on the status. Turtle, that resort has been a sticking point since it was wiped out. I believe a hurricane kind of damaged that resort in a pretty significant fashion. It's been closed for quite some time. And the exact opposite of Spinnaker is I've seen so many people emailing and posting on Facebook just looking for some sort of status update. It sounds like, I empathize with the association because they're all volunteers. I guarantee you that your board members are not paid or given compensation like that anyway. So they're volunteer owners like you. And, I can only fathom how much email and how many phone calls and such they get on a daily basis. That said, you can mitigate a lot of that by, again, being truthful, being forthcoming, give owners some sort of information, even if it's not good news. Bad news is better than no news, in my opinion, in this situation. So that does sound good. So for those of you watching that might be Turtle K owners or watching this replay, I know I've seen a ton of you on Facebook desperate for updates. Hopefully it looks like all owners are expected to get an updated letter on the status of the resort next month. Whether that will be a positive letter or a negative letter, I certainly can't speculate on that. Fingers crossed that you guys do get something. YouTube channel Resort Trades had a recent video of the CEO of Lemon Juice. He provides some good information about what they do. Yeah, no, Lemon Juice, I don't have anything bad to say about it. I've spoken to a couple of the principals in the past when they were dealing with a different resort at the time, but I got positive vibes from it. It did not seem like they were, doing anything other than, obviously making a profit on handling that, but they seem to provide an expertise in options for resorts in this situation that are either already failing, already in the death spiral, heading to bankruptcy or foreclosure. And again, as mentioned, these independent resorts are run by volunteer directors. Most of these people probably don't have experience in how to handle they probably have an attorney that has been retained or represents the association, but that attorney might just be an expert in HOA law or a collections attorney, which many companies will engage in just to deal with trying to make efforts to collect default or delinquent association fees. But again, they're doing the best they can, and certainly you're talking about thousands of owners and millions of dollars. Asking a volunteer who's there's no real, you don't go to school to be a board of directors in a homeowners association. So Lemon Juice does have the expertise. They've done this countless times and seem to have a pretty sterling reputation in this industry for at least providing a resort with options and taking over all of the process. Lemon Juice is now handling it. They've given them the steps to go through, and having someone hold your hand and guide you through this process. Yeah, it's going to suck for the owners. The resort's going to close down. People that had those prime weeks that have been going for years or were perfectly happy with their ownership are going to be, downtrodden. It's not news they want to hear that the resort is closing down with limited options. Maybe they don't like Palace View or Palace View Heights. They want to keep going in their prime summer week or whatever event happens, Dollywood Festival, whatever happens in Branson that they absolutely love to go year in and year out. But it sounds like in this situation that is the small minority of those happy continuing owners that are continuing to pay, where the resort has reached the tipping point for defaults or delinquencies or association-owned inventory where it can no longer maintain even running the resort right now, much less the upgrades, as they mentioned, that would cost in the millions of dollars. There's no way the annual budget's going to cover that, and there's just no feasible way to if the millions of dollars you're looking at charging a $2 million or $5 million or $10 million special assessment, who's going to pay that? That's just going to make that whole catch-22 situation worse when you already have people defaulting and wanting to give back or give away or otherwise surrender their ownerships. You add a $5,000 special assessment on top of that, or maybe it's even more, and you're just going to have a whole nother percentage of people just walking away from that, and that's not going to help anyone at all. So, But again, I'm all for resorts that are upfront, forward, and provide public information readily available to their owners, being proactive about getting bad news out versus, as we see with Wyndham. And I don't want to blame it all on Wyndham because there are multiple homeowner associations involved with that. Again, we just see how panic sets in and how rumors spread and how just how the what's the word I'm looking for? How the anger of not knowing what's going on, but knowing something bad is coming, just kind of festers in people and builds. And then without official notification on where we stand, what our options are going forward, what can I expect, what is my timeline, miasma just festers inside people and just makes them more and more angry that when that bad news finally comes out, that's probably their breaking point. They're just going to absolutely flip and go ballistic. Versus if you're honest and upfront and forward, yeah, it's going to suck. Yeah, people aren't going to be happy, but they're already not happy. So, getting that information out in front of people, in my opinion, being upfront and straightforward, especially when the writing is on the wall, there's really no reason to keep people in the dark. So kudos to Spinnaker Resorts for this, even though it's clearly a poor situation, and it's going to be many unhappy owners involved. But it just doesn't look like there are any of the options for that resort to stay open. Moving on to topic number 3, always a fantastic annual event, the Tug Orlando Get Together. Now, this is I don't want to call it an official Tug Get Together, but at this point, it's been going on for over a decade. It is completely run by Tug members. Everybody meets up first month in January, or the first month of the year, to gather at the local watering hole. In this case, it's Golden Corral. It has been for the past few years, just because they've offered a wonderful space for people to go enjoy. Personally, an unlimited number of people can show up and enjoy it back and forth to the buffet. Stay as long as you want, because they know people aren't there staying as long just to milk the system. They're just enjoying having a nice drink and enjoying some conversation. So set your reminder, set your calendar, alert on your phone. If you happen to be on vacation in Orlando, January 21st at 3 p.m., please head over to the Golden Corral and meet a bunch of other Tug members. Jeremy, Destination Timeshare will be there. I've wanted to go for quite some time. It always just seems that with 2 small kids, having getting down there to Wednesday afternoon is just during school season is I can't commit to something like that. My wife, I told my wife that, hey, I need to go to Orlando to Golden Corral in the afternoon, and can you take care of everything kid related? And the looks I get for that, it's not. Let's just say that they're not. I don't get a lot of happiness, shall I say, in my wife's eyes when I mention that. But we'll see what we can do. I would love to attend, come down there, but as it is, it's very well attended. We always get pictures every year. Just a great way. People give you something to do while you're in Orlando on vacation on a Wednesday afternoon. Besides sitting by the pool, go have some Golden Corral, dip some marshmallows in it. They sell the chocolate fountain at Golden Corral. I honestly haven't been to Golden Corral in quite some time. I just remember the ice cream stand and the chocolate fountain. They may not have that. Maybe it's cheese fountain now. But hey, save the date, January 21st, 3 p.m. Everyone is invited. It is an open invite. If you are a timeshare owner, you have a great time. I promise you. Meet up with a bunch of other owners, talk about timeshares. Everyone talk about how wonderful Tug is, and then with your full bellies, go home and digest and enjoy the rest of your week in Orlando at your timeshare. Going on to option 4. Story 4 is kind of a mention of an advice article that we wrote. Now, I try to do one of these for each and every resort. I try to do one of these for each and every system, but some resorts that we just get so many listings and so many people asking. Grandview is a great example, even though that's a vacation village timeshare. Summer Bay is another great example. I do one for most of the developers, even though the Massanutten is just such a gigantic sprawling resort. There's so many different phases there. We just get so many different listings that it would probably be one of the most listed timeshares on Tug if I combine them all. Of the different phases that we consider quote unquote different timeshare resorts, but just giving people the ability when they search options to get out of a Massanutten timeshare, just for the fact that again, competing in this search space and on the internet today with the exit companies and the upfront fee resale companies that can afford to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars per month on Google ads, trying to create these pages so that someone types in, hey, how do I get rid of my Massanutten timeshare? How do I get rid of my Exploria timeshare, my Summer Bay timeshare, my Grandview timeshare? Having these specific pages that give you the 3 options. Now, every owner, as we've discussed, and unless you're new here, every owner has the same 3 options to exit a timeshare. You can either negotiate a surrender back to the resort. Unfortunately, Massanutten does not have any official surrender program. So while we always suggest reaching out to ask, it's probably not going to be a high probability of success for Massanutten owners. We have never heard of anyone who's contacted them and was told, yeah, we'll happily take that back. But again, it only takes one yes. So for you to not try that, it costs you nothing to reach out to them via phone or email. So making that effort is always suggested to do that. Just because everyone else has heard no, a yes would solve all of your problems. So we always suggest that as your first step. Step 2 is obviously to find a new owner on the resale market. Now the downside is there's so many Massanutten timeshares, and I don't want to mention that this is something specific or make it seem like this is something unique to Massanutten. Every timeshare out there has more sellers than buyers. There are far more people out there trying to get rid of a timeshare than there are people that know about the resale market looking to buy a timeshare. So even though these timeshares are successfully given away on Tug all the time, Grandview timeshares are, Summer Bay timeshares are, the timeshares across the board are given away on Tug every single day. For every owner that is successful in giving away a timeshare, there are 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 more that aren't, just because there are far more people trying to get out of their timeshare than there are people looking to pick one up on the resale market, or even know that they can pick one up for free on the resale market. The problem is, and then Massanutten kind of exacerbates that fact, is it's such a large timeshare system. That means there's an exponentially larger number of owners trying to get out. And again, the resale market is not something that's common knowledge. I would estimate that 9 out of every 10 people that bought a timeshare had no idea they could buy a used timeshare on Tug or eBay or Redweek or any other legitimate resale outlets for pennies on the dollar, or in this case, completely free. So when you tell them that, it obviously, wow, that's amazing. I'd love to not pay full price for that. But again, when you have 50 people trying to give away their Massanutten timeshare for free, and then only 5 or 10 people that would even know about that or look to buy that, there's a very, very large percentage of owners who are not going to find success even offering their timeshare for free, at least not initially. This is why we say that trying to give away your timeshare on the resale market is usually measured in months, not days or weeks, just because of this fact and supply and demand. There's far more free timeshares out there than there are people looking to pick up free timeshares. That hasn't changed in many, many years, certainly in the 17, 18, 19 years I've been here involved with Tug. It was like that when I came in. It's been like that for, through the 2000s, through the 2010s, and then now into the 2020s. And I don't expect that to change anytime soon. So now, well, Brian, what do I do? You're saying I can't give it back to Massanutten. I probably can't give it away. Well, folks, as we mentioned, the only guaranteed way to get out of timeshare, no matter what you own, no matter what your situation is stop paying for it. And I know that that's not the greatest advice out there. And you're probably thinking, well, I don't need to join Tug. I mean, Tug to tell me that if I stop paying for something, I won't be the timeshare owner anymore. Well, that is the reality of the situation. You have 2 really, really poor options. If you can't give it back and can't give it away, you either pay for it for the rest of your life or you stop paying for it. That's it. There's no other magical solution out there. There's no lawyer out there that's going to, poof, make your timeshare go away. There's no company out there that is going to sue Massanutten on behalf of you to get you out of your timeshare that you have had paid off for years. Despite the advertising that is what it seems that these companies provide you, that's just not what happens. Because to get out of it, you stop paying. That ends your ownership, guaranteed. It doesn't matter where you own. It doesn't matter how much you owe. It doesn't matter what the details of your ownership are. If you stop paying, it will end your ownership. Period. Now, where the gray area, or where the what's the opposite of silver lining, where well, hey, what about situation comes in, is what are the repercussions for stopping paying for a timeshare? We have an entire video on it. We have an entire article on it. And the answer, as with every timeshare question out there, is it depends. However, the biggest fear people have in my engagements with countless thousands of timeshare owners is, hey, I don't want the Massanutten coming after me. I don't want to lose my house. I don't want to lose my car. I don't want my kids to be persecuted or dragged through the mud after I die and now I still own this. None of that happens. That is the biggest secret of the series. None of that happens. Timeshare owners they're not going to take your home. They're not going to take your car. They're not going to sue your kids. They're not even going to sue you if you're talking about defaulting on your maintenance fees, because the amount of money that would have to be spent in trying to pursue an actual judicial foreclosure and then trying to reach some sort of agreement, because you're not contesting it. You're not trying to keep your timeshare. You want to give it back. So it's an uncontested foreclosure to try and get some sort of monetary judgment and then pursue that judgment across state lines would be far more expensive in terms of time, money, legal expenses, because actual foreclosure processes take years in most states. I think the average foreclosure in timeshare in Florida is like 4 years, although in Florida, timeshares are allowed non-judicial foreclosure. But again, for situations like that, when you go through a non-judicial foreclosure, a timeshare company, unless you contest it, which you aren't, you can't be assessed a monetary judgment against that. Florida law doesn't allow it, and many other states are like that, meaning if you're not contesting the foreclosure, they can't pursue a judgment against you. They can't levy a judgment against you. Now, I'm going to say this with The caveat is we are talking about right now defaulting on your maintenance fees. When a loan comes into play, when you took out a loan to buy a timeshare and you're still paying on that, that changes the dynamic a little bit. Now, I will say right up front, defaulting on your loan and defaulting on your timeshare is still going to end your ownership. So there's zero chance that you're going to continue to own your timeshare if you stop paying for it. Now, that may take months, it may take years in some cases before action is taken. It is going to end your ownership. And obviously, you choosing to not pay ends your financial obligation. If you're not paying, you're not paying. However, you can't expect a ding to your credit. You can't expect collections letters. You can't expect collections phone calls. You can't expect them probably to sell that debt to a collection agency, and they will try to pursue getting you to pay some money and make some very, very angry threats against you. And hey, we're going to foreclose. We're going to sue you. And so, but the fact of the matter is we've never seen it happen. There's no evidence that this actually happens. Now, I have no doubt that if you default on a $100,000 timeshare loan you took out, they're going to make an effort to collect, because at that point, that is worth their time or money to pay an attorney to go through foreclosure. You're talking about six figures there. However, you're talking about your maintenance fees. It's just not something that happens. And this is why timeshare exit and cancellation companies are so popular and so successful, because the strategy works. And more often than not, there are no repercussions to you. These companies are masters at claiming that they are going to fight for you. They're going to do all of this stuff to quote unquote cancel your timeshare, when in actuality, all they're doing is having you stop paying for your timeshare and waiting for that default to kick in, waiting for the resort to reach out and either negotiate a surrender, get you to sign the ownership back. There's going to be no punitive damage towards you. There's not going to be financial judgment sent against you. It just doesn't happen. And it ends your ownership. And then the timeshare company can just sit back and say, hey, aren't we great? Look what we did. We told you we were going to get you out of your timeshare. We got you out of your timeshare. Thanks for paying us $7,000 or $10,000, whatever it happens to be. So for those people who are in fear that they are somehow going to lose their home, or their kids are going to be sued into oblivion, or they're going to lose their Social Security, stuff like that, it just doesn't happen. Now, again, I'm not saying people just stop paying for their timeshare. That would be completely ridiculous statement. I'm saying that you have two legitimate options. If you can't give away your timeshare, you can't give it back to the resort. You can either continue to pay for it for the rest of your life, or you can stop paying for it. Now, I like to say, instead of calling it default, calling this is you have already reached out. You have already made every effort to find a new owner for your timeshare, or find an option to get out of your timeshare, and you have been unsuccessful. If you have reached out to the resort and you have offered this time, take it back, I can't pay this anymore, and you have informed them that this is the situation, what you were doing, instead of calling it default, is forcing them to take that timeshare back. Now, yes, there are plenty of owners out there, and I don't disagree with them, that when you stop paying for your timeshare, you are laying that financial burden on the remaining owners at the resort. Let's say there are 10,000 owners at a resort. If 1,000 of them suddenly stop paying, the budget doesn't go down. All of the money to keep that timeshare running has to be paid by the remaining 9,000 owners. So those people are going to be, rather miffed at you for stopping paying for your timeshare. That said, again, you are presented with these two options. This is reality. This isn't me making things up. This isn't me just being blunt about the situation. You either continue to pay for your timeshare, or you stop paying for your timeshare. Both of those are really, really bad options, especially if you are elderly, on fixed income, Social Security, lost your job, medical issues. Things change. You can't go anywhere. You can't physically travel. Your spouse has passed on. You're now in your 80s, and you can't fly to Branson anymore. There are situations that every owner will encounter where they need to be out of their timeshare, and their timeshare lifetime is over. That's it. You can continue to pay if you want to. That seems like a really poor option for someone who can't use it, can't give it back, can't give it away, and none of their heirs want it. Or you can stop paying. This is again, that comes with its own negative. It might show up on your credit. You're obviously leaving your other owners hanging out to dry. It's not an ideal option, but those are your two choices. When it comes down to it, and if you're in the situation where you were looking to engage an exiting company, that is the solution that they're going to provide to you. Yes, they're going to write letters to the timeshare, which are promptly going to be thrown in the trash. Yes, they're going to send you all sorts of literature that says, how successful they are, and how, they sue timeshare owners. It's absolute nonsense. Their solution to get you out of a timeshare is for you to stop paying for it. And that's something you can do completely free. One thing I've seen recently, that companies are now getting more creative, these exit companies, they're now offering to protect your credit. That was or if it does show up on your credit, we have a process to get that dissolved. We can dispute it and get Again, things you can do yourself that have a very low chance of success. There's no argument that if you're defaulting on your timeshare, especially on a loan, I've seen this more often than not, because they know it's going to hit their credit. So that's why they now have to offer these quote unquote credit protection. And they even offer an upcharge for it. It's fantastic. You pay for this and we'll protect your credit. Or if it does happen to show up on your credit, we can dispute it. We can get it dissolved and it won't show up anymore. Again, all of this is things that any owner can do with the same level of success. There is absolutely no reason why you can't write a letter to the credit bureau and dispute that charge. The problem is to dispute a ding on your credit, it has to be, you have to prove it's either fraudulent or incorrect. And unfortunately, when you choose to stop paying for your timeshare loan, there's nothing fraudulent or incorrect about the loan. You signed for it, you got the contract, unless there are extenuating circumstances, which unfortunately the average owner, it's been decades or quite some time. And unless you can prove that the salesman lied to you, or unless you can prove with some sort of documentation or video, or it's not a he said, she said thing, the credit bureau is just going to ignore you. There's no way to prove fraud or it's just an invalid. It's not you that did that. And if it does, you're not in the situation where you're hiring an exit company. You're hiring an actual attorney to litigate something like that. But for all these people watching, again, when it comes down to it, the very, very large percentage of owners are forced with two really poor options: either to continue to pay for your timeshare for the rest of your life, or to stop paying for it. Obviously, there are downsides to both, but one has a really good upside, and then it's free, and you don't have to pay for your maintenance fees anymore, and it'll end your ownership. And you can see with me painting it in that picture how effective it is for someone to claim all those positives as their marketing strategy to quote unquote get you out of your timeshare, without telling you that strategy is just for you to stop paying, or that you can accomplish those exact same results by stopping paying yourself. So for Massanutten owners, again, reach out to Massanutten, try to give it back, try to post it on Tug. Again, I will say that there are Massanutten timeshares every single week, every single month that are successfully given away on Tug. There are also dozens of others that aren't, because far more people trying to give them away than people just trying to get rid of them. Or excuse me, they're trying to pick them up on the resale market, which leaves many owners in a very, very poor situation, especially as we're approaching 2026. Are you going to pay your maintenance fees in January? And you may have to force the timeshare to reach out to you and negotiate a surrender. Now, they may not pay in 2026, and you get your late fee, you get your late notice of late assessment in February after not paying in January. You get notice letter of intent to foreclose in March or April, or however long the process takes. Every state has a different laws requiring which they have to notify owners of delinquencies and intent to pursue delinquencies or collections. So it could take 3 months, 6 months until they can even legally do anything besides send you letters. And after 8 months or 10 months of you not paying, or you reaching out and saying, hey, look, I'm done paying. This is it. I tried to give it away. I tried to give it back to you. You didn't want it. This is it. Forcing them to take that back from you is what the default strategy is so successful in doing that. It's just, unfortunately, many timeshares, Massanutten, for example, just does not want to set up a policy that allows owners to willingly surrender in a situation where they clearly don't have any good options. And when you're not presented with any good options, you have to choose from two bad options. And in so many cases, and I hate that the industry has gotten to this point, but there are so many situations where the best option for an owner in the case that they're in is to stop paying for their timeshare and wait for the timeshare to reach out to you and negotiate some sort of surrender. They will all do it. It happens eventually. You may have to put up with collection calls and angry letters and quote unquote late fees and things like that. But again, it will end your ownership. Continue my response and my suggested response anytime they reach out communication wise or anyone is, hey, take it back. I don't want it. I've been trying to get rid of it for years. It's been unsuccessful. You won't even take it back from me to take it. I'm not disputing anything. I'm just not paying for it anymore. And once that message is getting across, it's gotten across to the correct powers that be at that particular resort, they will reach out and either have you sign something over, and they may ask for some sort of restitution that, hey, pay your back fees. And you can decide to do that and be out of your timeshare. You can tell them to jump in a lake. You can negotiate. You can say, I'm absolutely not paying you a dime, but I'm perfectly willing to sign any document you want to surrender my ownership back to you. Let me know. My message that I try to tell people is, when you're speaking to the resort, tell them to give you some option. Give you an option other than paying for something you can't use, don't want, can't give back, and can't get rid of for the rest of your life. Give me some reason, because I can't afford to pay you anymore. Or I'm unwilling to continue to pay for these maintenance fees because of the situation that I'm in. And if they can't give you that option, then you have to force them to give you that option. And doing so means to stop paying for it, go into default, and wait for them to enact whatever policy they happen to have, which will eventually result in the ending of your timeshare illegally. And when you sign it back over to them and be perfectly done with it. So, man, that was a long rant. But again, it's one of the things near and dear to my heart. And I have this conversation every single day with timeshare owners, just to give you the options. I'm not telling you to stop paying for your timeshare. I'm not telling you to continue to pay for your timeshare. I'm here to tell you exactly the reality of the situation that you're in. You have two very bad choices that you have to sit down at a table and choose which one is best for your situation, because it's not always going to be the same. But the options are always going to be the same to you. Just how that impacts you and in your relationship and your family situation and your financial situation, your health situation. For most owners, when you lay it out in black and white and you look at both sides, write it down if you have to, the answer becomes very, very clear. So with that said, unless there are any other questions, I'm going to call it a night here. We've been chatting for 45 minutes. Thank you so much to everyone who tuned in. It looks like a wonderful plethora of people that came in. Again, I'm truly blessed that you guys are willing to sit here and listen to me ramble on and jibber jabber about timeshares for going on 40 minutes. You're very welcome, Jim. Thank you very much for tuning in. I appreciate you coming in every single week. Absolutely wonderful. I love that you guys support Tug on social media. I will have the chapters up here so you guys can skip and come back to and post a recap. But again, thank you so much for joining me on a Tuesday. Tune in next Tuesday for week 37, and we'll see what stories we can cover then. Thank you guys so much. Have a good evening.